You got more dye in that beard than Diddy wears.
All right, that's enough.
And I know.
That's enough.
I seen him. He shows me behind the curtain.
That's enough. All right, I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna edit this out.
But still,
put a
note on it. You can edit that one.
I think they never been to a Diddy party. If you not dancing,
I just got hard.
Then you got to go. So security, if you see somebody and they not dancing, they got to go.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank.
I should.
Fresh off the garden stage. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like, that's how. I mean, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early. And now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
What did Puff just say? Nobody's going to acknowledge this for me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was stupid. Listen.
We're having a good time, yo. Oh, your usher made it in the... Hey, yo.
She did, and when the judge did, Diddy, who was sitting at the defense table with his attorneys, did not show any signs of emotion. He took a sip of water before he was led out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to fight this. They are going to be back in court on Wednesday before the judge who will oversee this trial and try to get Diddy to be released.
Isn't that, to my mind, that's one of the bigger hurdles in selecting a jury this coming week, is that there is, at least anecdotally, when I talk to people, they have that opinion, strongly held opinion, that there's celebrity tapes, that they've kind of conflated Epstein, and you mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell and all of these things into Diddy. There's this idea that somehow this is Epstein redux or something.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
Welcome back to Fame Flux, where the truth behind fame gets exposed. Rumors are swirling as a major development hits the federal courtroom. A judge in New York has now officially ordered comedian Kevin Hart to appear as a witness in the widening criminal investigation against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, according to newly filed court records. The directive was initially disclosed during a closed-door session and later reflected in public court documents. It signals a clear move by prosecutors to broaden their reach in pursuit of corroboration for serious allegations. The charges allege that Combs orchestrated a prolonged scheme involving RST and financial misconduct, a pattern said to extend far beyond the music industry. Kevin Hart, a longtime figure in the entertainment world, reportedly hosted or appeared at several high-profile parties linked to Combs. These events, held at private mansions and exclusive hotel penthouses, are now under scrutiny. Prosecutors argue that these gatherings may provide critical context, evidence of a larger pattern of behavior they claim normalized illicit activity behind closed doors. Court officials confirmed that the subpoena was hand-delivered to Hart's legal team after previous requests for a voluntary interview were unsuccessful. Civil rights attorney Lisa Bloom commented outside the courthouse saying, "The court wants to hear from high-profile witnesses who may hold relevant knowledge." She added, "Mr. Hart's testimony could help jurors understand the culture that surrounded Combs during the period in question." Hart's spokesperson declined immediate comment, citing legal instructions. Meanwhile, Combs' attorney Mark Agnifilo dismissed the news as a publicity stunt, insisting that Combs is ready to fight the charges and clear his name. Inside the courtroom, Assistant U.S. Attorney Dana Palmer explained the government intends to question Hart about private jet flight logs, exclusive guest lists, and encrypted communications, evidence allegedly pulled from surveillance footage and digital records. Defense attorneys objected, arguing the scope overreaches the current indictment and risks turning the case into a celebrity spectacle. However, the presiding judge disagreed, stating the prosecution had a legitimate basis to believe Hart's testimony could reveal Combs' intent and mindset during the alleged misconduct. Legal analysts now say Hart's brand team is bracing for potential reputational damage, Archived footage showing Hart alongside Combs at luxury gatherings has resurfaced across social media platforms. Sources close to Hart describe him as frustrated that his name has been pulled into a federal probe, one they insist he had no involvement in beyond attending public industry events. Meanwhile, Combs continues to face serious charges, including RST and financial fraud, tied to a network of alleged shell corporations that prosecutors say funneled money from concert revenues and brand deals into discretionary accounts funding private, off-the-grid affairs. Federal investigators are now zoning in on a series of elite gatherings to demonstrate what they claim was a calculated effort by Sean Diddy Combs to build loyalty and manipulate influence. According to prosecutors, these parties weren't just extravagant networking perks. They were tools designed to blur ethical boundaries and normalize conduct that allegedly veered into criminal territory. Kevin Hart's subpoena arrives as the prosecution sharpens its witness list, which now includes former security staff, party planners, and music executives. Several individuals have reportedly entered cooperation agreements in exchange for reduced penalties on unrelated charges. This momentum followed the execution of federal search warrants at Combs-owned properties in Los Angeles and Miami. Authorities seized guest lists, electronic devices, and internal emails, some of which allegedly reference Kevin Hart by name in scheduling documents. These details have raised new questions about whether Hart had knowledge of or exposure to behind-the-scenes arrangements. Combs' legal team has pushed back, insisting that simply being present at an event isn't evidence of wrongdoing. Being photographed at a party doesn't make someone guilty, defense attorney Mark Agnifilo stated in a recent court submission. However, a sealed memorandum filed by federal prosecutors lays out their reasoning. It reportedly includes encrypted group chats, documenting strategy meetings about gatherings where press and mobile phones were intentionally barred. Assistant U.S. Attorney Dana Palmer revealed that Hart will be questioned about a specific event held in a Las Vegas suite, where witnesses claim Combs discussed potential backup plans should law enforcement inquiries ever surface. The judge acknowledged that calling public figures to testify is uncommon, but permissible, especially when their visibility may help jurors assess disputed facts more clearly. The court also issued a strict warning to both legal teams, stressing that any unauthorized leaks of the confidential witness list would be met with serious consequences. Media analysts now say Hart's inclusion in the investigation presents a complex situation. He's cultivated a brand centered around family-friendly entertainment and holds several high-value endorsements. As news of his subpoena spreads, major sponsors have started monitoring public sentiment, though none have withdrawn advertisements or severed ties. For now, the focus remains on Hart's potential testimony and whether it could offer key insights into the inner workings of Combs' inner circle. As the legal battle deepens, the pressure on high-profile names continues to rise. Legal analyst Lisa Bloom has predicted that Kevin Hart will comply with the court order, citing the serious consequences of failing to appear when subpoenaed. Hart's testimony is expected to follow that of Cassie Ventura, a former partner of Sean Combs, who has filed a separate civil complaint accusing Combs of sexual assault and retaliation. The subpoena arrives during the jury selection phase of Combs' criminal trial, already complicated by intense media attention and trending hashtags focused on the case. To address potential bias, prospective jurors have been asked whether they follow any social media accounts centered around celebrity legal drama or misconduct. In response to Hart's involvement, the court has scheduled a closed-door pre-testimony session to evaluate privilege claims raised by Hart's legal team. His lawyers argue that certain verbal exchanges with Combs may be protected under informal non-disclosure arrangements, a common practice among high-profile entertainers. If the judge rejects those arguments, it would open the door for prosecutors to gain a more candid look at Combs' private network. Legal analysts say this could strengthen the prosecution's portrayal of a closely controlled and highly curated inner circle. So far, Hart's legal team hasn't indicated whether he will invoke the Fifth Amendment. However, experts note that witnesses with little direct exposure to criminal conduct often testify after receiving legal assurances that their statements won't lead to charges. Though the subpoena specifically names Heartbeat Productions, insiders believe the move is strategic, meant to increase pressure on other celebrities who frequently attended Combs' events. Several of those performers have reportedly hired legal counsel and are now revisiting old non-disclosure agreements to assess potential conflicts with federal grand jury procedures. The judge acknowledged the heightened public interest in the case, declaring it both significant and legitimate. While noting the discomfort that public figures might face, the court emphasized that transparency must take priority over celebrity status. A ruling is expected soon on motions to limit the scope of Hart's testimony. Meanwhile, the reaction online has been immediate. Fans expressed shock at Hart's name surfacing alongside allegations of abuse and financial misconduct tied to Combs' broader legal troubles. Marketing analysts suggest the situation could impact performance metrics for Hart's upcoming film and stand-up projects, though past controversies have done little to slow his box office momentum. Nonetheless, brands and studios are watching closely as the legal spotlight sharpens. Sean "Diddy" Combs has now responded through his publicist, issuing a statement firmly denying all wrongdoing. He also accused federal prosecutors of weaponizing celebrity relationships to distract the public from what he described as a baseless indictment. His statement further suggested that the court's decision to compel Kevin Hart's testimony was suspiciously timed to coincide with Hart's current film promotion schedule, calling it a deliberate and calculated move. However, legal analysts quickly pushed back on that claim. Court records confirm that the subpoena for Hart was issued well before any studio press tour began, making the overlap appear more coincidental than strategic. Still, as the trial continues to unfold, attorneys on both sides believe the witness list will expand, reshaping how entertainers approach partnerships with executives whose private dealings face increasing legal scrutiny. A notice initially filed under seal, but later summarized in open court, outlined a strategy to demonstrate that the alleged culture of coercion spanned multiple cities. Prosecutors now aim to link private parties, talent contracts, and concealed cash flows that were reportedly hidden behind legitimate touring expenses. Assistant U.S. Attorney Dana Palmer told the judge that additional subpoenas have been issued to performers, choreographers, and personal assistants. These individuals allegedly witnessed Combs directing payments into so-called slush accounts. Funds investigators claim were used to reward silence, incentivize loyalty, or compensate discreet appearances. Court documents state that unnamed entertainers received lavish appearance fees routed through third-party intermediaries, a tactic prosecutors say was designed to mask the true purpose of these engagements. This system of layered payouts is now central to the financial crimes element of the indictment. Agnifilo countered by arguing that prosecutors are chasing headlines, suggesting that the pending subpoenas read more like a music festival lineup than a fact-based witness list. He maintained that the government is drifting from provable offenses and entering speculative territory. The judge, however, sided with the prosecution, stating that any individual with first-hand knowledge of the events named in the indictment may be called to testify as long as their input ties directly to the alleged R-related misconduct and money laundering schemes. Legal scholars believe this ruling grants prosecutors significant leeway. Sandra Warner, a professor of entertainment law at Loyola, noted that this mirrors strategies used in previous white-collar cases, where the focus shifts toward illustrating how financial crimes impact real people involved in a broader ecosystem. In court, Palmer emphasized that celebrity witnesses help jurors grasp how Combs allegedly used his star status to normalize suspect payouts, framing them as routine hospitality rather than calculated hush money. Inside Sean "Diddy" Combs' inner circle, advisors are now debating whether the music mogul should make a limited courtroom appearance to signal confidence or remain absent until absolutely required by the court. Public image consultants warn that any unscripted moment could distract from the defense's messaging. However, others caution that staying away entirely might be seen as evasive or indifferent. Legal strategists point to high-profile trials where defendants kept a low profile, only to be criticized later for seeming disconnected from the proceedings, especially in cases tied directly to their professional empires. Analysts also note that jurors often pay close attention to a defendant's body language, interpreting calmness or agitation as subtle cues of credibility or guilt. If Combs does attend in person, expect a heightened level of security coordination, involving federal marshals, local law enforcement, and his own private protection team. For now, he remains at an undisclosed location, subject to court-imposed travel restrictions, and participates in daily strategy calls via encrypted lines. His legal team continues intensive trial prep, rehearsing potential witness interactions, mapping out cross-examinations, and refining testimony to clarify complex financial language and industry-specific slang. Seasoned trial consultants are also advising both legal teams on the importance of translating entertainment industry lingo into plain language. This helps ensure jurors, many of whom may have limited exposure to the music business, fully understand the implications of internal communications and event planning details central to the case. Both prosecution and defense agree. The upcoming evidentiary hearing will play a key role in shaping how jurors view the case. Will it be seen as a financial crime prosecution focused on misused funds and slush accounts, or as a broader expose into celebrity excess and misconduct? That hearing is scheduled for early next month, barring any delays tied to witness availability or ongoing motions regarding digital evidence admissibility. Until then, legal teams continue exchanging discovery, finalizing arguments, and preparing for what many believe could be the trial's most revealing moment, Kevin Hart's anticipated testimony. His statements could influence how jurors interpret Combs' intent, inner circle culture, and behind-the-scenes dynamics tied to the allegations. Now we want to hear from you. What's your take on how this trial is unfolding? Will Combs take the stand or stay in the shadows? And how impactful will Hart's testimony be? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another update. More in-depth coverage is coming next, so make sure you're here for it.